I was visiting my parents over spring break. This was the first time I'd tried out Airbnb, since the city I was going to was small and Airbnbs were cheap there. I made the 2-day drive and pulled in just after the sun had set. As I parked in the driveway and got my stuff out of the car, I looked around at the neighborhood I was in. The atmosphere felt a little off. It was very dark and not busy in any way at all. No streetlights on the road and nobody walking around or driving. And the Airbnb home I was at was the only house with lights on. It wasn't even that late, but all the other houses were dark. There were maybe 1 or 2 lights in a couple of houses, and that was it. Maybe things around here were just different. I didn't know. I headed into the house and got my things unpacked. I had no plans for this night, aside from resting from the long drive and just getting comfortable at the rental. I ate some snacks and turned on a movie in the bedroom. A couple hours went by. It was probably around 9 or 10 when I heard something outside of the room. I paused the TV and waited a few seconds. Then I heard it again. It was someone knocking on the front door. I immediately checked my phone, thinking maybe I missed a call from the host, but I had nothing. I got up and went down to the front door. That whole time, they were continuously knocking, so it seemed like they actually needed me for something, and it wasn't just a salesman or whatever. I opened the door. There was a man in his 30s, wearing a black winter hat and a distressed red flannel. He looked confused when he saw me. I said hi. He sort of awkwardly smiled, then went back to a straight face. He mumbled something under his breath as he turned around and walked away. I just stood there in disbelief and watched him walk down to the road. I closed and locked the door. I really had no idea what to think about that. The way he was knocking over and over, only to just not say anything and leave, was weird. Maybe he had the wrong house and was just too awkward to say anything. I went back to the bedroom. The rest of that night was fine, and I got up early in the morning to go out and see my parents. I was out until 6. When I got back to the rental, I was pretty tired again, so I went to the bedroom and just watched TV and chilled for the rest of the night. But around 9 again, there was that same knocking at the front door. This time, I was more worried than confused. I still checked my phone again for any texts or calls, but there wasn't anything. I was a little more cautious, walking up to the door this time. I checked out the peephole first, and it was the same guy. He was wearing the same hat and flannel. This time, I only cracked open the door and asked what he needed. The man's reaction was almost identical to last time, except it was more dramatic, like he really didn't expect to see me again. "Is everything okay? Was there someone you were looking for?" The man looked at me with a straight, hollow face. "No," he said in a monotone voice. He turned and walked away again. I really didn't know what that guy was looking for, or who he thought lived here, but it was getting creepy. I went back to the bedroom, but left the door open to the hallway so I could hear better. Something about this was really strange, and I didn't like it at all. A couple hours went by. It was late, so I turned off the lights and went to bed. When I woke up, my eyes opened to the pitch-black bedroom. It was dark and quiet, still the middle of the night. I wasn't sure why I'd woken up, but I sat up and I started to hear something from outside, maybe like a whisper or something. Then there was a sudden knock at the front door. It was loud and harsh. I got up from the bed and went into the hallway. The loud hits against the door shook the whole house. As I quietly crept down the hall, I caught a glimpse of something move past one of the windows on the other side of the hallway. When I got to the end and looked out the door, I saw that same guy. but further back in the dark, there was someone else. They were clearly hiding, waiting for something. I felt my body going numb from the adrenaline spiking. I turned around to go back and get my phone, but instantly locked eyes with a man staring at me through the back window. I panicked and sprinted into the bedroom. I heard multiple footsteps start running around the house. Not just like a couple, it sounded like maybe a dozen men out there. As I called the police, I heard all the windows and doors around the house being moved and attempted to be opened. Several excruciating minutes went by as I listened to this group of men surround the house and try to force their way in before I heard sirens in the distance. All the men disappeared within seconds. With the place being an Airbnb, the police contacted the host, who seemed more annoyed than concerned. It was a little weird, considering the experience I just went through on his property, staying at his house. To sum it up though, they never figured out any more details. After the years, I think my best guess is that someone else had stayed at the Airbnb that knew the men that showed up. They probably thought he lived there, and when they saw me answer, they were confused. Maybe they were mad at the previous guy, or just wanted to talk to him and thought I was hiding him or something. Or they could have just been insane. The host was definitely a little strange, too. I wouldn't be surprised if the group had some beef with him and found this address was under his name. Whatever the true intentions were, I guess we'll never know.